If you've found a rental property you like, the next question is simple. Will the letting agent actually approve you? In this video, I'll show you exactly what letting agents and landlords usually check before they say yes to a tenant in the UK, including income, credit score, employment, references, guarantors, and the most common reasons renters get rejected. And if you stay until the end, I'll show you how to improve your chances of getting approved, even if your situation isn't perfect. So the first thing rental agents will check is if you can afford the rent. Now, when it comes to affordability in the UK, the most common way that this is checked is your gross annual income should be around 30 times the monthly rent. So for example, if the rent is £1,500 a month, your target income should be around £45,000 a year. At £2,000 a month, it's around £60,000 a year, and at £2,058 a month, should be around £61,740 a year. Now, these numbers aren't the strict rule of thumb, but this is what they're looking around when it comes to your basic affordability. Now, it doesn't always mean you'll be rejected, but if you are below these thresholds, there are extra things they may ask for. One being a UK-based guarantor, or a stronger proof of savings, possibly asking some rent in advance, or your combined household income if you're applying with someone else. So if you want the best chance of approval, always check this before applying. So after checking your affordability, you'll be asked about your employment, as an agent wants to know that your income is stable and likely to continue. They may ask for your employer's name, your job title, your salary, your start date, and whether you're permanent, temporary, or on probation. And sometimes, if not always, they'll ask for direct confirmation from your employer, be it either a letter, an email, or a phone number. If you've recently started a new job, that doesn't always mean you'll be rejected, but it can make the application a little bit more complicated. If you're in a new role, it does help to provide a signed employment contract, an offer letter, confirmation of your salary, and proof that the role has started if possible. The more certainty you can show, the stronger your application looks. Next is your credit history. Now, a lot of renters worry about this one. In many cases, letting agents will run a credit check as part of tenant referencing. They're usually looking for signs of financial risk, such as missed payments, defaults, insolvency issues, or a pattern of serious credit problems. Now, this is important, as a bad credit history doesn't automatically mean you can't rent, but some landlords will accept tenants with weaker credit if the income is strong, there's a guarantor in place, the issue was minor or historic, or you can show good recent financial behaviour. If you know your credit isn't perfect, it's usually better to be prepared than surprised and be upfront from the off, as you don't want issues to come up later. Now we come to previous landlord references. So, if you've rented before, many agents will want a previous landlord reference in the form of a letter or a contactable phone or email address. And what they want to know is if you paid your rent on time, did you look after the property, were there any complaints, did you leave owing money, did you cause any damages, and most importantly, would the landlord rent to you again? A strong previous landlord reference can make a huge difference. If you're a first-time renter and don't have one, there's no issue there. In that case, an agent will have to rely more heavily on your income, your employment, your credit profile, and as mentioned before, your guarantor. The occupancy details are quite important, as agents will need to know exactly who will be living in the property, and they'll usually check how many adults are moving in, whether children will be living there, whether it's a couple, family, or sharers. And this is important because affordability may be based on your combined income, and landlords may have limits on occupancy, such as HMOs, which are houses of multiple occupation, as certain boroughs have rules in terms of who can move into a property. And the tenancy agreement needs to match the actual occupants, and you have to be accurate here, because if you say one person is moving in and there later turns out to be multiple adults, that can create problems. In England, there will be a right to rent check, and it only applies to those without a British passport. And this involves passport checks, immigration documents, and the Home Office online check using a share code depending on your status. Now, this is a normal part of the process and should be completed before any tenancy. And if you don't have a share code, you can apply for this via the government website. For self-employed applicants, you can very much still rent in the UK, but you will be expected to provide a letting agent with more evidence. So instead of just pay slips, they may want to see an SA 302, any tax returns, accountant references, business bank statements, personal bank statements, and proof of regular income over time. Now, self-employed applicants often get approved, but the process can be slower if you're not prepared. So if you are self-employed, the best thing you can do is organise your paperwork before applying. A guarantor is when an agent thinks your application is slightly too risky and they may ask for someone who can agree to cover the rent or tenancy obligations. This is common if your income is below the usual affordability levels, especially if you're a student, you're self-employed with limited proof, you've just started a new job, or if your credit history is weak. In many cases, a guarantor can be the difference between being approved and rejected. So if you think your application might be borderline, it can help to line up a guarantor in advance. What gets tenants rejected most often? Well, the most common reason letting agents will reject a tenant would be based on their income being too low for the rent, unstable or unclear employment, failed credit checks, missing documents, poor previous landlord references, delays in responding, inconsistent information on the application, no guarantor is provided when one is needed, or, most likely, another applicant just simply looked stronger and moved faster. This is why speed and preparation matters so much. Sometimes the difference between approval and rejection isn't usually your income, it's how organised you are. How to improve your chances of getting approved. Now, there are 5 main points here that I want to go over, and these should be followed. Number 1, know your affordability. Work out whether you're likely to meet the rent threshold before you apply. Number 2, have documents ready. Prepare your ID, being a passport or driving licence, any pay slips, bank statements, employer letters, landlord referencing, proof of savings, and guarantor details if needed. Number 3, be honest early. If you have bad credit, starting a new job, you're self-employed, or any other complication, it's usually better to explain early rather than let it come up in referencing. Number 4, apply quickly. The market is usually very competitive and speed does matter. So once you've seen something you like, apply straight away. And number 5, have a backup plan. If your income is on the edge, be ready with a guarantor, or a combined income, some stronger savings evidence, or most likely a slightly more affordable rental property. These steps can massively improve your chances. So the real secret to renting a property is that they're all asking just one question. At the end of the day, letting agents and landlords are just trying to find out if a tenant is going to pay the rent on time and look after the property. That's what all of these checks are really about. So, the strongest applications usually look like this. The rent is affordable, the income is stable, the documents are clear, there are no surprises, and quick professional communication. And there you have it, all the information you will need about renting property in the UK. I hope this video was very informative, and see you next time.